Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tony the Mole Adams YouTube channel, coming to you for another week. And it's the international season is in full swing. But more importantly, I guess, for some of our viewers anyway, I'm coming to you from the Grand Hotel in York, where Samoa are staying. I'd like to tell you that Terrell May is going to be my guest, but he's not. But so in lieu of him coming to us from Sydney as usual, Tony Adams. How are you, Tony?
Yeah, I'm glad to be back in Sydney, Steve. I had a very severe bout of barley belly, which I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Kept me in Bali a few days longer than I wanted to be, but I got back in Sydney last night. I'm still being a little bit cautious about what I eat, but so far so good and glad to be home.
Yeah, well, I don't think I can afford to eat in this hotel. It's a 5-star. I have actually stayed here. I'm staying here again tonight. I've got to change rooms, but it was built in 1910. The Grand Hotel, just near the train station. It's absolutely spectacular. These guys, certainly a long way from Ilkley and the bowler hat and all that sort of stuff. The sort of accommodation they stay in these days. So, Tony, the reason I obviously made a reference to Terrell May is that because he's reportedly been given permission to negotiate with other clubs by the Roosters, and there's a lot of that going on at the moment, isn't there? A lot of player movements. Ben Hunt is gone. Clint Gufferson gone. What do you make of it all?
Yeah, well, we were just saying off air, it normally would be a massive week in rugby league, massive 24 hours really, in which we've seen Gutho, who's been an institution at Parramatta, the Fox, who's been so good for the Bulldogs, and Ben Hunt, who to me has been the heart and soul of the Dragons. But yet it's strange in that we knew all three were coming. I mean, I'm no genius, but I just had a gut feeling. You could see it building over the last few days. With Hunt, you could feel it building for probably 6 months, and with the Fox, probably for 2 weeks ever since he got in strife. And Gutho, the drums were beating. So it's a strange new world we live in, isn't it? Where these massive player movements are just becoming par for the course, and to a certain extent becoming quite predictable.
Yeah, it must be difficult if you're on the other side of the world and you find out that you're not going back to your workplace when you get home. That's got to be it's got to be very unsettling, especially if you've got a big match to play at the weekend. So I sort of sympathise with Terrell May a little bit in that regard. But all that is all connected to the first item of your column, Tony. Really, and by the way, don't forget to like and subscribe. And Tony's columns appear at nine.com.au. But Dylan Brown and a clause in his contract to Parramatta.
Yeah, and again, it shows the new world we live in, where Dylan Brown has a contract where he's got 10 rounds to decide if he likes Jason Ryles as coach of the Eels. And if he doesn't, he can get out at the end of next season. Now, this sort of thing would have just been unheard of a few years back. I mean, you sign a contract till the end of the year, but after 10 weeks, he can say, nope, I don't like you, Jason Ryles, I'm getting out. Now, I'm not suggesting that's going to happen, but the mere fact it's in his contract and his manager confirmed it to me just shows, again, the different world, the different vibe in rugby league at the moment. And let's not forget, Dylan Brown's under contract till the end of 2031. So it's a fairly big move.
Judah Rimbu, if you've been watching the Pacific Championships, he's been really impressive. He's maybe the next Edwin Apape, who's the great hooker from Papua New Guinea. And there were some NRL clubs sniffing around him, I think, Tony, but maybe they sort of arrived on the scene a bit late.
Yeah, that's right. And he scored 16 tries in 23 games for the PNG Hunters in the Queensland Cup this season. So he's not in a flash in the pan, but he's really come of age the last few weeks. He captained the PNG's Prime Minister's 13. He made his test debut against Fiji and scored a try. And Aussie clubs have shown interest. There's a little bit of Appy Coruscant in him, but they left it too late. He's signed with Castleford and is going to join up with them as soon as the Pacific Championship is over, apparently.
Yep, a change of coach at Cass and a lot of a new owner, and obviously he's keen to make an impression. The new owner, Mostyn Bowen. Now we always give the viewers a new name. There's our new name for this week. Who is he?
Yeah, well, he's probably the first Moston to play NRL or hoping to play NRL. He's a middle forward from Ipswich. He went to Ipswich Grammar School, and he's going to be a member of the Ipswich Jets Mal Meninga Cup squad next year. 18 years old, 112 kilos and still growing. Apparently, some interest from the Canberra Raiders, as well as several other teams, but the Raiders favourites at the moment. So, yeah, one to watch.
And finally, Andrew and David Fifita still going around next year on the Central Coast. So they obviously love their footy, but not for the same team.
Yeah, and both captain coaches. I don't know if we've ever had that in the history of rugby league. Two brothers captain coaching in the same competition. Andrew, who was of course the hero of Cronulla's 2016 premiership win and a former Kangaroo, he's going to be captain coach of Woi Woi, and his lookalike brother David, who didn't quite have the same NRL career, is going to be captain coach of Kincumber, who just happen to be arch rivals of Woi Woi. So that might be a game worth watching. And a little rumour attached to that, I'm hearing David is looking at calling in a rather well-known recruitment in the name of Matt Moylan. Now, Moylan, of course, long career with the Sharks and Panthers, retired from the NRL at the end of 2023, played for Lee last year. He's 33. He'd be a great influence for the young guys at the club at Kincumber. So hasn't been done yet, but one I'm hearing is likely to happen.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise that Matt Moylan decided to give it away after 1 year at Lee. He had a good season. So yeah, obviously didn't meet his own high standards, or maybe from a personal point of view, he didn't want to subject himself to the sort of full-time training or whatever anymore. But he had a really good career, Matt Moylan. Of course, as you say, played for Australia. Tony, it's been a pleasure. Next week, my season will be over, but it's a great weekend of footy coming up with England and Samoa, PNG playing Cook Islands for promotion to the Pacific Championships next year, and of course New Zealand and Tonga in the men, and then some big women's games as well. So plenty of good footy to look forward to this weekend.
Yeah, that's right, Steve. And then, of course, we've got the final of the Pacific Championships after that. So, yeah, it's not over rugby league, and the silly season is really getting silly because this halfback shuffle, wherever Ben Hunt goes, means someone is going to go somewhere else. We had Tanner Boyd leaving the Titans this week, so that sort of opens the door there. So there's all sorts of movement going on. I think we're in for an even crazier off season than usual.
Contract's not worth much anymore, is it? Okay. We'll see you next week, Tony.
Thanks, Steve.